There are, once again, a lot of ways to do this to get the data out of the form. Here's one way that's reasonably common. So on the input, I'm going to stick a prop called ref. So I can create a reference to this thing inside my class. What I don't want to do is just stick an ID on there and try to get it from the DOM, because we don't want to work directly with the DOM. React is managing the DOM for us. So we're just going to deal with these JavaScript objects. So we need a way to refer to this, and this is one way to do it. So what ref wants is a function. So we'll put a little arrow function in here. And the thing that we're putting the ref on will be the argument into that function. Like, we could just call it input. And then in the function, we could say this dot Acrobat name input equals input. So my arrow function here receives a reference to this object, and then I can do what I want with it, like setting it to a property of this. I don't need it on state. I'm not going to mess with it. I just need a reference to it. So I save it as a property on this. Now you may know that an arrow function, if it's a one-liner, doesn't need the curly braces. You may also know that an arrow function, if it only has one argument, you don't need the parentheses around the argument either. So since you're going to be seeing a lot of arrow functions from here on out, you might get used to some of those shorthands. So input is still the argument into this function, and all the function does is set this property on this, which means that up in handle submit, I can get to it that way. So let's say const Acrobat name equals this dot Acrobat name field dot value. What I typed in there, not the actual input. So now I would say this dot set state Acrobat name Acrobat name, right? Let's see what happens. Dreams. Uh-oh. I broke it. Hooray. Ref equals input this Acrobat name input equals, oh, Acrobat name input, not field. Well, James, you had your chance. Just John. Hey, there it is. Deanna. Yay. Heidi. Yay. It works. It replaces the whole paragraph each time. That's fine. So let me ask you this. What if I have another property on state? Like day of week. Tuesday. When I set state with this, is it going to blow that away, do you think? It's not. The object you pass in here isn't going to replace the entire state object. It's just going to modify the keys that you explicitly name in there. So my day of week property will still be fine. I'm just changing the one. Here's another little bit of ES6 shorthand that you will see a lot. That may seem slightly confusing at first. In ES6, if you have an object literal like this is, and the value of a property happens to be in a variable with the exact same name as the key, you can just write this. So that's the same as writing Acrobat name colon Acrobat name. So it is shorthand for the key and the value matching. The value being stored in a variable that happens to have the exact same name as the key. So we can shorten that to just this. And it's pretty common to see that. Everyone using React is using Babel, and Babel actually takes, not only does it translate JSX into real JavaScript, it can also translate bleeding edge JavaScript to older versions. So it can actually compile it all the way down to ES20 to ES5 if we needed to. So you can use all these new features, and it'll still run in browsers that don't support them. So again, that's short for this. I'll leave the shorthand version in there for now. But it's working.